What's up, Descendants? Kirkbab here. Today I got a build guide for Esiemo. This is gonna be my explosive propaganda build. And I think that Esiemo is very good for things like special operations, infiltration operations, mobbing in general, but specifically exceptionally good for defense missions, where you need to stand still on a specific designated area. So, with that being said, I don't think that Esiemo is the best Descendant for bossing, and I'll explain to you why in a minute. Well, I'll actually explain to you why now. I don't think that his toolkit is very good for bossing. His third skill for bossing is very awkward, and his first skill, it's not exceptionally strong. Both skills are very good for mobbing, but as far as bossing, I don't think that he's the best Descendant. His fourth skill, it's not too strong. It's good for mobbing as well, but with the build that we have, we're not going to be using the fourth skill at all. We're only going to be focused on the first, second, and third skill. So, with that being said, let's get started with the build. Okay, Descendants, now let's get started with the weapons. For our general rounds weapon, I'm using the Thunder Cage. I'm really not using the Thunder Cage for this build, but I'm using it in case I'm out of mana or out of ammo for my Secret Garden. This is gonna be my main weapon for this build. It's kind of like my backup weapon. If you guys want to take a look at the modules, here they are. It's an exceptionally good weapon for mob clearing. I highly recommend that you have one. It's useful for pretty much every Descendant when you're on the building stage. But the main weapon for this build, like I said, is gonna be the Secret Garden. The affixes for this weapon are going to be weak point damage, firearm attack, toxic attack, and critical hit damage. And what's so good about the Secret Garden, it's the unique ability, Pest Control. It has a 50% chance to trigger at level 4. It lasts for 10 seconds. We can get up to 3 stacks, and in those 3 stacks we're going to increase our skill power by 16% per stack. And we're also going to increase our firearm attack by 16% per stack, and at base is going to increase our skill power and firearm attack by 5%. This is a very good weapon for Esiemo, probably the best weapon for him in slot. The reason is because Pest Control, we can get up to 3 stacks, and we have 5 time bombs, so we have 5 chances to get the 50% trigger rate. 5 chances to get the 16% increment per stack. So very good weapon for Esiemo. I highly recommend that you have this weapon for this build. I would even go to say so that it's a must-have for Esiemo. And for the modules, for the Secret Garden, I'm not done leveling up this weapon, but what I have so far is Rifling Reinforcement and Action Reaction for more firearm attack. I have Weak Point Sight for weak point damage. Real Life Fighter, this is a game changer module for the Secret Garden. If you're playing on PC, this is extremely good. I don't know if it's that good on console because it might be a little bit more difficult because of the aim assist. But for PC, Real Life Fighter is the best in slot. Upon successfully attacking weak points, we're going to increase our firearm attack by 10% up to 10 times for 5 seconds. So if we stack this 10 times, we have an additional 100% more firearm attack damage. And since this is a burst damage weapon, with 2 bursts and a half, we're already at 10 stacks, as you guys can see. Extremely easy to trigger with the Secret Garden. Best module in slot. Then for critical hit rate, I have better insight. It's going to increase our critical hit rate by 37%. I only have one module for critical hit rate. And with a single module, our critical hit rate, it's already at 68.5%. So there's no need to increase our critical hit rate by more. It's plenty of percentage. So we're gonna use that Descendant module or weapon module with a different thing. We have better concentration and concentration priority or more critical hit damage. We have Fire It Up. It's gonna increase our fire rate by 25%. And for the last 2 modules, I'm going with Toxic Enhancement and Poison Priority. These two are going to increase our toxic attack by a lot. And since we have a lot of critical hit damage, this is gonna be even better. And I can already tell that at max level, this is gonna be an extremely strong weapon. And I'll be talking about this weapon when I fully level it up in a different video. But to make this build work, the only thing that you need is to have your Secret Garden at level 4. And for my last weapon, I'm using the Piercing Light. I don't know why it's doing that. But I'm using weak point damage, firearm attack, and firearm critical hit rate. And for the last module, I'm looking for critical hit damage to make it good for outposts and Colossus. And as far as the modules, this is what I have. Usually changing this depending on the boss fight. Now to make this build even stronger, let's talk about the Descendant modules. For our first module, we're using the Explosive Propaganda Transcendent module. This is going to change our third skill, and it's going to create a dummy with a basically big area that's gonna taunt enemies. It's very strong. It can pretty much kill enemies at level 100 by itself. Oops, sorry. I just ate my breakfast. Very good skill, and it's exceptionally good for special operations. It can cover pretty much like a whole area by itself. And very good for the later rounds because people tend to die on round 9 or 10. So this module, you're gonna be saving your teammates. This makes Esiemo kind of like a tankish character, which I love. And I'm using mirror maneuvering. It's gonna give us more mobility, skill expansion and amplification control for more skill effect range, strong mentality to bring our skill cost down by 15%. MP collector, this is a game changer for mobbing. We're gonna have pretty much infinite mana with this module. When defeating an enemy, instantly recover 12.2% of max MP at a 17% chance. Very important module for this build. This one as well. Strong mentality is going to be very important because if you do not trigger MP collector, you still want to have your skill cost down to be able to trigger more time bombs. It's going to be our main skill for the build. And we have focus on fire and focus on tech. These two are going to increase our damage and bring down our cooldown by 6.1% each. Increasing spear and shield is going to increase our defense, and it's going to increase our skill power by 8.1%. This is better than iron defense. We're not using a DOT build, so spear and shield is essential for this build. We're using nimble fingers and MP conversion for skill cooldown. And lastly, we're using increased HP to increase our HP by 218.5%. I did a lot of tests to see which module was the best in slot for these two. And just to show you guys a test that I did, I ended up coming to the conclusion that Tech Specialist and Fire Master are the strongest one. The strongest combination. The reason why I chose Focus on Fire and Focus on Tech is because of the skill cooldown, and since this is a mobbing build, these two are the best options, in my opinion. Even if they have the lowest amount of damage, having more cooldown, it's key for this build. And by having them, we're gonna reduce our skill cooldown by 3.5 or 3.7 seconds to 2.2, which is huge. Means that we're gonna be having time bombs way more frequently. And for our reactor, we're using the burning mechanics with a secret garden mounting. And I got pretty much the god roll that I was looking for. This has a skill cooldown and fire skill power boost ratio in gold. That's a must have as well. If you wanted to go for something different, I will go with tech skill power boost ratio, or maybe skill cost or skill cooldown as well. Those are pretty good options. And for the external components, I actually recommend that you go with the Slayer set, a full 4 Slayer set. I'm just using 2-piece Volcanic and 2-piece Annihilation because I like having different builds. I like testing a lot of different setups to see what's better. But definitely the 4-piece Slayer set is going to be the best option for this build. As far as the affixes, I have max HP for my auxiliary power. I have max MP for my sensor, defense for my memory, and this one, it's a trash roll, but I just kept it because it's a processor, so that way I can have these two, and these two that give me more defense and HP. With the setup that we have, he's not too mana hungry, but as you guys can see with with our time bombs and our 2, we already at 75% of our mana. And if you're just spamming skills and you're not killing anything, your mana is just gonna run out. But, like I said, with Strong Mentality and MP Collector, we're gonna be having infinite mana, hopefully. Guys, it's gonna be all for this video. Let me know how you guys feel about Esiemo. I actually think that he needs a buff for Void Intercepts. I think that he's one of the weaker Descendants for Void Intercepts. I spent the past 2 weeks working on this Descendant and I just didn't land on anything good for Void Intercepts. But yeah, if you guys have any suggestions, let me know in the comment section below. I'm very interested. And if you guys want to see more videos for the first Descendant, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.